All right. Welcome back to the Donut Hustle. My name is Dan Bertelson, and I am here with
David Romero.
Okay, so today we decided to, I guess, have a little discussion on a little bit about us, a little bit about our background, and a little bit about, I guess, our hustle and grind.
Yeah.
So I'll start. Okay, so for me, the last 19 years I spent in law enforcement. Actually, that's where I met David. We met in our first academy at the jail, right? So we worked in the jail for a little while. That was a wild roller coaster ride. And then David ended up leaving and becoming a lot smarter and went to the fire department, and I stayed the course in law enforcement.
I saw the light.
Yeah, you did.
Saw the light.
You did. Oh man. But anyhow, I've been in law enforcement. So I was a police officer. I worked in plainclothes capacity or undercover pack capacity. I worked the street for a good decade straight in uniform, and then started working investigations, and I don't know, that's about it with that. But during that time, I always had that kind of entrepreneurial mindset and desire, and so during the course of my law enforcement career, I had kind of some side hustles and started a couple businesses. They some failed, some flourished, and led me down that path of being a business owner and really kind of I guess addressing the appetite of wanting to be an entrepreneur and just providing a better life for myself and my family. Sure. Yeah. And then from there. Yeah, I've been a part of some startups. I've been a part of some businesses, and I guess just an entrepreneur and business owner. Still a business owner today. I also work in commercial real estate, and I love that field as well. I work in sales, and yeah. So how about yourself?
Okay. Yeah, so Dan and I, like you said, we met many years ago working at the sheriff's office. We went through an academy together, and we reconnected. But I went on to be a firefighter and paramedic, and that's what I did for the majority of the years. And, if I could take a second here, just something you don't know, Dan.
Okay.
But while I was working with you at the time for the sheriff's office, we had what I call an old man softball league, where we would go out, play softball, right? Mm-hmm. Like all the guys trying to relive the glory days, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I remember sitting in the dugout and watching one of the fire trucks pull out for a call. And I had this gut feeling in me like, maybe I should be doing something else, right? And I was like,
gotcha.
Shoot, what do I do, right? Like,
went around the wrong path.
Right. Well, I told my wife, like, this is what we're going to do. This is how I'm going to support our family for many years.
Sure.
How do I go back and tell her, like, just kidding, I'm changing my mind, right?
Right. Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, I didn't have the guts to tell her. So I continued down this fire road, and not that I regret it, because I don't. Yeah. I loved my time with the fire department. I have made some great friends. They're my brothers, right? I love them as family. I've been on some crazy calls. People will probably say you probably need to go to counseling for some of the stuff you've seen, right? I mean, you've been in law enforcement. We see a lot, right? Yeah. As a first responder. But I was a first responder for 14 years.
Wow.
And that's what I dedicated my life to. Toward the end of that, before I chose to step away, I started doing real estate, which I currently do residential real estate. Mm-hmm. And also, we started a business. My wife and I started a business, and it was successful. Mm-hmm. We also, since then, have had some wins. We've had some losses, but we've had wins in both the traditional and non-traditional businesses as well. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of dedicated my life, having had these freedoms now, being my own boss and getting to do what I want when I want. I've kind of learned to love this lifestyle versus, can I take a few days off and you don't have time off, or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely, yeah. Oh, well, someone else with seniority already took that time off, so
Yeah.
you're stuck.
You're stuck.
Cancel your plans. Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah.
So that's a little bit about my background. Like I said, some wins, some losses. Learned a lot along the way, and we're happy to share these things because it's important that people out there that do have that side hustle, right? They do want to break away and do something a little bit more. Could use some encouragement and some tips along the way.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why we decided to do this show, because I do want to share what I've learned and what you have learned, and really it is because I would have loved to have had someone, you know, not that we're guiding anyone, but but I would have loved to have had a little bit more mentorship, and I guess just a little bit more knowledge, I guess, going into some of these things, because the failures are rough, right? I mean, the failures are really tough on your ego. They're tough on your mindset. They definitely tax you, but they're necessary, because that's where you learn, and that's where you grow. And I think that's really important. We're certainly not the first people to say that as entrepreneurs, but it's really important to remember that if you're out there hustling and grinding and you reach those setbacks, right? You just have to take the knowledge you can from it, learn from it, grow from it, and just understand it's part of the road. And you are on the road to success, no matter how many times you're failing. So you can fail a million times; it only takes one time to succeed, right? And then you have small successes along the way, and those really, for me, the little small successes were the things that kind of helped motivate me, and I got addicted to that, right? The successes. And then there is something that you touched on. There's just something incredible about freedom, and I think that every entrepreneur out there, everyone that's hustling and grinding, is after wealth, right? Sure. I mean, that's why they're doing the hustle and grind, right? They're trying to build wealth. But what is really the goal, I think, for the truly invested person that's hustling and grinding, the goal is not wealth, it's the tool. Right? The goal is freedom.
Time freedom,
It's the freedom to live the lifestyle you want to live, to provide the lifestyle you want for maybe your spouse or your children, or maybe if you're solo yourself. But you want to have that freedom where it's like, hey, I've got enough money, I can go on a trip. I don't want to have to ask permission to be able to go on this trip, and just having that freedom of just, I don't know. We used at work, we used to call it FU money, right? there were certain individuals within my organization, right? That and we had a pretty large police department. We were over 700, and there were certain individuals within the police department, either through family or side hustle or marriage or whatever, they had the FU money, and they loved being in law enforcement, and that's what kept them there, is a love of doing the job. But it was just interesting. Their demeanor was different than everyone else's, because they were like, at any point in time, they could be like, I'm done, So, and that's just a freedom that I wish for everyone, right? But anyhow, so that's a little bit about myself and David, and I just want to say that David's being very humble. He's had some huge wins, and I think it's anything that David has to offer as far as advice or anything. I think it's worth listening to. But in today's topic, I wanted to talk about something that I call embrace the suck. And for those of you that are not familiar with that term, it has nothing to do with Haktua, by the way. I feel like I have to mention that in today's online society. But embrace the suck is actually a term. I did a little bit of research on this, or at least AI did for me. Embrace the suck is a term that was coined by the Army Rangers. So it was originally from the Army Rangers, allegedly, and then it kind of spread from there. So it really had its roots in military. It of course spilled over into law enforcement. That's where I heard the term first. Yeah. And you've shared that you've heard that term in the fire. So it is a widely used term, and really embrace the suck is a cute way of saying make sure you have the right mindset. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, in the military and I guess in first responders as well, but really in the military, right? In the world of combat, everything's dynamic and everything changes in a moment's notice. And most of what you're being asked to do sucks. Right.
It's like it looks all fun on TV, then they suck the fun out of everything, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're constantly what's being asked of you in that profession, for the most part, sucks. And it's a job that not a lot of other people want to do, whether it's military, fire, or law enforcement. And the part is you have to embrace it because it's your job, and you have a goal you have to achieve. Yeah. And whatever comes along the way, they're just basically saying it's probably going to suck. It's probably not going to be, nice and chill. And you need to embrace it and have the right mindset to get through it. And so what we're trying to share with the world of hustlers and grinders out there is that you need to have proper mindset. It's really so imperative to have the right mindset. And part of having the right mindset is just understanding that there's going to be days that suck.
Dude, it's not fun out there, man. I mean, you're out there hustling, you're grinding, and when you either you get rejection, right, or you get people laughing at you or telling you it's wrong, you're an idiot for doing this, why would you do that, right? Yeah. And when I first started going down this journey, I realized embracing the suck, it's thick skin. You need thick skin, dude.
Absolutely.
That's it. Because there's all these negative Nellies out there, whether those are your own thoughts or other people, right? And when I first started going down this journey, this is what I was getting at. When I first started going down this journey, I would take a lot of those things to heart, and I will let it affect me.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Very hard not to.
It's hard not to. Yeah. Especially because these are my good friends. These are my family.
That's right.
They love me. They want what's best for me, right? Yeah. And you start second guessing so much, dude.
I must be an idiot because everyone around me is telling me, and if you've ever been in the world of sales, and what is the fastest way to accumulate wealth in the U.S.? Well, there's a handful of them, and one of those ways is sales.
Sales, 100%,
right? Yeah. And I would venture to say, I would be so bold to say that everything, whether you think you're in sales or not, you're in sales. You are selling your image, your brand. You are selling yourself, whether you work in an office. I don't care if you work for the post office. You're selling yourself to your coworkers, to the public. But if you're in traditional sales, then you really need to have an understanding of the mindset and the thick skin. Yeah. Because, I mean, you can't let it get to her, or else you won't be in sales very long because it'll trash you.
Dude, it'll eat you, spit you up, and spit you out, however you want to say it, right? Yeah. It'll destroy you. And I had to get to the point, Dan, where someone told me this. Mm-hmm. Why would you take advice from them? Yeah. And it was a good question they asked me because I took a step back and I looked at their lifestyle. Yeah. And I'm like, you're right. Why am I going to take advice from somebody or an opinion from somebody who's not living the life that I want to live?
Yep.
That's
exactly right.
And it was a great question to ask me at that perfect time. Yeah. Because I had a lot of negativity coming my way. Yeah. And I'm like, you're right. They're not living the life that I want. So why should I listen to them? Right?
Absolutely. And they're not even on the same path.
Not even that.
And they're telling you how to navigate your path when they're not even on the same freaking road. And so, but it's hard, right? Because when it is your closest of friends and when it is your family, when it's your coworkers or whatever, and and they're just not on the same path as you. They don't necessarily even want to be on the same path as you, or maybe they ventured down that path and the first time they fell into a little hole or they hit a bump, they ejected right and changed course.
Right.
But they're the first ones to tell you, oh, don't do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
You're wasting your money.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, it's true. It's funny because Dan and I were having a talk with somebody before this podcast, and he gave a great analogy. He's like, if you're out there dating, right, looking for a spouse, and the first one doesn't work out,
right?
Do you like stop dating? Right? Do you still go out?
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to keep dating to find your spouse, right?
Yep.
Same thing when you're walking down this road of entrepreneurship or starting to start a business, whatever it is, and you fall into this hole and it doesn't work out. Do you stop?
Well, and I think. I'm glad you brought that analogy up. I think it is a really a great analogy, but I want to say that some people do. 100%. Some people do. Some people date one or two people, right? They have a negative experience from one or two people, and it shuts them down.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening to those people? They end up being alone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And in many cases, they don't feel fulfilled, right? And they're unhappy, and at least in that area, right? I don't know that happiness comes from necessarily another person, but if you're seeking to be with a partner, and that's what you want to do, and that's, you know, in your mind, that's what's going to bring you happiness and so forth. If you are literally going to give up after the first, second, or third try, then I guess you better become accustomed to being alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and what do people say in that scenario? They say, well, get back in the saddle, right? I think that's one of the terms they use. Get back in the saddle, man. Go out there, hit the scene, meet some people, and you'll have success on the next one. And that's just something that we need to spread within the world of entrepreneurs and people out there, you know, hustling, that there are going to be setbacks, but you got to get back in the saddle. Back in the saddle,
yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it's why it's so important. Why personal development is such a key factor in all of this, right?
Agreed.
Because you have to stay in the right mindset.
Yeah.
Because if not, you will give up and you will stop.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And then time will go by. And I speak from experience, not just in business, on like other things in life. Right. Time has gone by as I'm getting older, and I'm like, the time went by anyways.
That's exactly right.
Why didn't I do that before?
Yeah.
Why didn't I do that earlier?
Why was I waiting?
Yeah. Maybe I could have done it already.
Yeah.
Right?
I could be done.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. One thing I share with my children, and I don't know, I can't take credit for it, but yet I can't figure out who actually said it. I don't know if I saw it on like a TikTok short or something ridiculous. I don't know, but it hit me when I watched it. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to ask my children that every single day. I'm going to the point where, you know, I irritate them, which is part of your job as a parent, right? You got to irritate them.
Yeah.
But I have put it into play every single day now. When I'm, you know, give them a hug, they're getting ready to go to school. I ask them, what is the most important decision you can make today? And I've taught them what the response is, and they respond now on their own, but it makes them think. The answer to that is, what is my attitude going to be? And that's mindset, right? I mean, and I ask them, you know, the most important decision you can make every single day is what your attitude's going to be. That'll set the tone for the whole day. And you have to remind yourself that you've got to ask this sometimes, multiple times in the day, or at least when maybe something pops up, an unexpected situation, you can go into it with whatever attitude you want. But if you want to increase your rate of success, you got to pick the right attitude, right? Yeah. And so I think that translates. It was a lesson to myself as well, because I'm trying to teach my children, but I literally ask myself that in the morning now when I wake up. I'm like, okay, it's going to be the first decision I make, and it's going to be the most important decision I make for the day, and that is what attitude, what mindset am I going to have today? And I try and obviously pick the best one.
Sure.
And things happen during the day, because I'm human, that I might have to remind myself, okay, we're slipping. But I challenge everyone watching to try that, and just ask yourself, every time you go into a situation, every time you wake up in the morning, what attitude am I going to have today?
What an inspired question, though, right? Because it'll change everything, right?
Changes everything.
You can do upbeat and happy,
right?
Or you can be down and depressed.
Yeah.
But whatever you choose, life's going to give you more of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the most successful people in the world, and the one that comes to mind actually is his name Goggins, right? Is it the Navy SEAL, the former Navy SEAL?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's a beast. Okay, and sometimes I look at people like that, and I could never be that guy, right? It just that guy's a machine.
Yeah.
But I can learn from him, and I can be inspired by him. And I think to myself, that guy probably wakes up and he just turns it on, dude. He's like, I'm a warrior. He's like, I don't know what he drinks in the morning, whatever. But when he's having a sip of coffee or something, that guy is getting in that mindset. I'm a warrior. Whatever happens today, I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just look at people of that level of success. I mean, if it's not him, you look at like the uber successful, the Elon Musk of the world and stuff like that. These guys are nonstop, man. And
it's nonstop. But you're going to put your point. I'm a warrior, right? But every victory is won up here.
Yeah.
Before it's won anywhere else.
Absolutely. It's always one up here. And the flip side of that coin is if you're going into something and it ain't right up here, your odds of failure are astronomically high.
Extremely high. Yeah.
So before you step in it, you might want to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Right. And even if whatever you need to do to reset, reprogram, hit the reboot button, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get in the right mindset, or else whatever you're attempting to do, I don't know. I wish the best for you, but you're probably going to fail if you don't have the right mindset.
I agree.
Right?
I agree 100%. And I want to go back for a second to what you touched on before. Like, we're always in sales, right? Always in sales. And that has so much to do with your mindset. And this is something that I tell my kids all the time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just like you, Dan, you're in sales every second of the day.
Every day, my brother.
The way you sleep.
Yeah.
The way you shake hands, the way you say hi, the way you chew,
the
way you look at people, the way you slouch, the way you sit up, like everything you do,
I better sit
you're
up now.
putting out. I know, right?
Fix my shirt, man. But you're right.
You're sending a message. You're sending some kind of message. And what message, which really is a sell, subconsciously, like you're selling, are you sending to the world?
Yeah, and if you're this is applicable to everyone,
everybody, and everything.
And I mean, if you're a student in school, it sets a tone of what your experience in school is going to be like, right? Because you're representing your brand, whatever that brand may be. And then, of course, if you're a business owner, you are representing, and it's difficult because I don't think this is necessarily a new phenomenon throughout our civilization, but I think it has been enhanced because now everything's online.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Information is available at everyone's fingertips. Everything's being recorded on some way or another, right? And so if you're out there and you're a business owner, your conduct, even if you're closed on Saturday and Sunday, your conduct on Saturday and Sunday, you're open 24/7, my friend.
Oh, it's
right.
You're always open, whether you realize it or not. You're always open.
And I guess you just need to understand that and utilize that to your advantage, because if you don't, it's going to be utilized to your disadvantage. Is kind of my thoughts.
Well, I've heard so many stories by now, and I'm sure everybody out there has heard them. But people go and apply for a job or want to do something. Yeah. They go to their social media, and that
brutal
could potentially destroy any chance you have to do business with somebody or to do something else that you want to accomplish because of how we choose to live outside of business, right? And I'm not saying you can't have a life, but I'm just saying be careful on what you put out there because it'll come back to bite you.
You got to know it's just a reality. And the first thing I want to say is, well, just not fair.
Yeah.
And I will say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. It absolutely is not fair.
Yeah, of course not.
You can't just be whatever you want to be, right? And have like a different persona for business and everything else. It's not fair, but it is a reality. And guess what? Life is especially the world of business is not fair. So anyhow, I think we've kind of covered what we set out to cover in this episode. Thank you everyone for joining us. So just, I guess, to recap, what did we do? We talked a little bit about ourselves. We talked about embrace the suck. Remember, embrace the suck, because sometimes it just does. And I just want to add to that. Sometimes when you embrace the suck and you change that mindset, the suck, whatever you thought sucked, actually turns out to be a blessing. Turns out to be something that is so phenomenal for your success long term. And really, it was just about, maybe instead of looking at it head on, it's just kind of changing angles, right? And just seeing it from a different perspective that makes it so that it's like, wow, this is actually a really good thing. So with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah. See you guys.
All right. See you. Cool. That was done.
Don't hold back, climb the mountain, no slack, fight the fight, keep on track.